Okay, so we are back. Sorry about that, everybody. So, how is everybody doing tonight? I'm not sure if anyone's actually watching because it's not showing, it's saying 0. So, I'm probably just talking to myself. But if you're here, just type something in the chat, please, so I know. I'm using OBS and I don't know for sure if it says it's connected, but on YouTube side it doesn't show. It shows 0. Okay, so I think we're set. I just wanted to take a minute just to discuss something that happened recently. I had a video that I did about Frank's speech, Mike Lindell's platform, because I had heard his banks had asked him to cancel his accounts with them, and I thought that was pretty dirty. And so I saw a video that he did about it where he gave an interview. It was no, actually, it was a speech he gave, um, and I mentioned in my video that I really like his platform, Frank's speech, because I'd never checked it out before, and there was quite a few interesting interviews and shows. So I put a clip of him interviewing President Trump and their thoughts on 2020. And there's two words I found that trigger the YouTube, the AI. It listens in when you're uploading your video, and it won't allow any misinformation on elections. But there's two words that it really flags that you can't say that violate community guidelines, and one was fraud and the other one was rigged, and those were both captured when Donald Trump said those two words. You can't say those in conjunction with the word election, or it'll flag it. So it instantly took the video down and removed it. And then all over my dashboard, when you go into the Creator Studio, it gives a warning and it explains exactly what the issue is. Let's see here. It's not showing me anything in the chat, unfortunately. But it says warning. Yeah, your content was removed due to violation of our community guidelines. Because it's your first time, your account isn't affected. I'm glad, but honestly, at this point, I don't think I'm going to become a millionaire off of this. I just basically started this channel just to get my voice out there. But my biggest concern is what really constitutes misinformation versus your own opinion. I figure you're allowed to have your opinion on what happened, but it seems like according to them, you're not allowed to speak your mind because it's dangerous. And I just think that you should be able to say what you think I really wish it would show me if there's anyone in the chat, because it's not showing the chat box. So I'm gonna try to do the pop-out chat. See, whenever I jump back out, it always shows that some people were watching, but it doesn't automatically pop up with the chat. So then I always get back out and go back in. Yeah, I think I'm the only one in here right now, but that's all right. But I was just wondering what your opinion is, as far as maybe what YouTube could end up doing is they could label certain things opinion, and that way we'd be able to freely share our thoughts. Because it's not like I'm trying to state the news or state things as fact. This is definitely just my opinion, and I feel like I'm not creating a coup or anything, and that's what's so frustrating. I'm gonna check and see if it still shows that I'm live, because I don't think it does. I just want to see if there's anyone in here chatting. Yeah, see, it shows it's live. So anyway, if I end up having a channel strike or anything like that, you'll kind of understand why, because I don't really want to censor myself so much. Oh, now see, there goes the chat. I swear there's a huge delay. It's so embarrassing. I sit there and it says 0 watching, and then, oh, hi, Dennis. These are so awkward. I don't know how people do these on a regular basis. I mean, there must be some kind of a formula to get the hang of this. But, I go on to YouTube. It says nothing. Doesn't show I'm connected. It just shows like a spinning little circle. Then I go on to my OBS, and then it shows it's connected. But then YouTube says 0 watching. So I'm like, I'm talking to myself. So then I usually jump out, and then like 5 seconds later, it'll show, oh, there was 10 people watching. Oh, Thank you, Dennis, for responding. I'm like out here all by myself. Let's see. Let's see who else is here. Noah's Ark, 1962. Hello. And eventually I am going to get sophisticated with this. Maybe in 5 years' time, but we'll see. But for whatever reason, YouTube does not see, and I've said some of these words that got my one video removed. I've said the words myself, the forbidden words. But in this particular video, Donald Trump was saying the words, and I left them in just to kind of test the waters, just to see how far I could push things before getting a video taken down. I knew it was going to happen eventually, and I really don't care. I kind of care, but I'm not pinning all my hopes and dreams on having a major YouTube career because I don't know. I can't censor myself to the degree that you really need to. So I'm just sort of I'm enjoying myself with the platform, and I'm just trying to I want us to be able to support each other, you know, those of us who are conservatives. And I feel like we have a nice little community built up, and I feel like it's well worth it. But like I said, when I know something's a lie, I can't just go along with it. I have to say what I feel. And if my video gets taken down, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I'm sort of testing the waters just to see what'll happen. Let's see. Yeah, I should challenge their ruling of when they took that video down. What I did is I just edited out the thing that said rigged and the part that said fraud, and I uploaded it and it took it. But so has anyone else checked out Frank's speech? I really kind of like that platform. I didn't think, because I've heard some people on the radio make fun of it, like it wasn't anything special, but I really enjoyed it. They had Diamond and Silk, and they made a really good point about Fox News, because I was really angry with Fox News, and because I don't know if you remember, they called Arizona right away on the 3rd, and they didn't even give it a chance. And I was kind of boycotting them, but in the morning I like watching Fox and Friends. I really like Ainsley Earhart and Steve Ducey and Brian. And so for 6 months I didn't watch Fox News, and then I couldn't resist, because I'd always started my morning with them. And yep, I'm definitely, the chat's definitely showing up now. But see, when I first start my broadcast in OBS, it's just like a big old black chat box. I go over to YouTube, there's nothing, and then it's like I don't know, a couple minutes delay, and then everything starts popping up all at once. And a lot of times when I was first trying to test this out, I figured I wasn't live because it just shows a spinning wheel, and so I would back out of it, and then I'd go on my phone and I'd see, oh, yep, I was definitely live, and I had a few people watching. Oh, thank you, Dennis. Yeah, I mean, I work full time, so I can't commit as much time to making videos as I would like to. And sometimes it's hard to come up with ideas, but what I do is I watch the news, I go through some of the newspapers, and then usually if there's any news item that makes me if it puts a smile on my face, if it's a story about someone doing the right thing, or if it's an injustice and it makes me really mad, those are the types of stories I like to try to comment on. I don't just, comment on everything and anything. It's got to be something that kind of sparks a little bit of emotion, or else I won't be able to speak on it. But um, with Mike Lindell, when I was listening to the Mike Gallagher show, and they played the phone conversation from his bank, that Minnesota, I forgot the name of the bank. It was like, I think it was Heartland or something. I forgot the name of his bank. But anyway, when they called and they were saying, we'd like you to close your accounts because it won't look good if you're subpoenaed. We don't want it to damage our reputation. I thought, that's pretty dirty of his bank, and they're supposedly Republicans. And I thought, and then someone in the comments says, well, companies can do what they want to do. And I don't know, it just feels like McCarthyism. I feel like it's reverse McCarthyism that we're living through. But my prediction is that one day, anything that Mike Lindell has lost will be returned to him. I think 100-fold. I think that he will be richly blessed for standing up for what's right and for standing up for election integrity. And usually, the way I know someone is a decent person is when the media is running their name through the mud. That's usually the way I know someone is telling the truth, because the media is so corrupt nowadays. Let's see. Soros, yeah. Let's see. Most of the so-called reporters are bought and paid by Soros. George Soros is so... People, when you talk about people will say, oh, that's a big conspiracy, but it's not, because he funded all the campaigns for those, the district attorneys that are letting people off with no bail. And you've seen so many of those, the recent crimes with that poor girl that was stabbed, that UCLA student that was 24 years old, and she had her whole life ahead of her. But so many of these people that are shoving girls off into the subway, or they're shoving them off of the subway platform, so many of these criminals, or the guy that drove that SUV into the parade and ran over people, they have a rap sheet a mile long, and they're just being let out with maybe $1,000 at most for bail. And it's just super, super scary. I'm trying to look at the chat. I mean, there's not many people in here, but I appreciate all of you that are actually here. I need to schedule these, but I'm so new at this, and my nerves do get the better of me. So I'm just when I get the nerve, then I try to go on and tackle this. It's just kind of something I forced myself to start doing, because I watch all these people do it and they're so slick and polished. And maybe because they've been doing it for so many years, but it's just not me. I mean, because it's not super simple with the technology. I'm new to it. I haven't been doing this. Like, some people started doing this when they were teenagers, and they've got several years under their belt, and they're just real super savvy. Let's see. Yeah, Fox making that early call in Arizona, that right then and there, I don't know about you, but I felt the fix was in. And like Diamond and Silk were saying on Frank's speech, Fox is complaining about the inflation, the bare shelves, the rise in crime, but Diamond and Silk were saying Fox is complicit in it all. So why are they complaining? And I thought about that and I thought, you know what, they're absolutely right. But like I said, I've still been watching. I don't know what it is, but the morning show, it's it's a good way for me to start my morning. I haven't really been able to find a substitute. I do watch a lot of YouTube videos. I like Brandon Tatum. I like, what's the other guy? I really like this one guy. His channel is called The Liberal Hive Mind. And then there's a few others that I like, but I mostly like to listen to talk radio. I usually will start the morning after I finish off with Fox and Friends. I'll switch over to the radio as I'm working and I'll listen to the Mike Gallagher show. And Dennis Prager, I really do like him, but after the whole election thing went down, he just seemed to get kind of depressed. So, and he's been warning about socialism taking over the country for so many years. And I really like Dennis Prager, but after the whole election thing went down, I sort of needed something a little bit more positive because it's so easy to get down. But another thing I've been watching is Elijah streams on YouTube. They are great supporters of President Trump, and their channel got a strike about 2 weeks ago. Some of the prophetic channels that have always stood by the word that they said they received from the Lord that Donald Trump would be coming back, several of them received channel strikes right around the same week. And also the Officer Tatum channel, that received a strike too. And it was really kind of creepy because they never had. And then, like, all back to back. And I see the way Media Matters works, how they took down a lot of my favorite channels right after the election. They took down Doug Tenable and they took down Behizzy and Out of the Darkness. And after they put out an article, I believe it was June 21st, 21, they called out YouTube and says, hey, why are you allowing all these channels to spread misinformation? And so after that article, all those channels just disappeared, and they didn't even hardly get any warning. And some of them, I don't even think all of them had actual channel strikes. They just were deleted. But yeah, if anyone has any ideas for videos, I just basically sort of react to the news. But if anyone has anything in particular or any person that has been deleted off of YouTube, anyone that you'd like me to sort of put a spotlight on them. I recently did one for the Doctor of Common Sense. I didn't know who that was, but someone mentioned him in the chat. And I really, I did a little research because I didn't know who E.T. Williams was. So I did research and I really love his content. And I found him over on Rumble. He's on Rumble and he has his own website too. And so when people give me ideas on who to check out, that's how I find some really awesome new content. Let's see here. Yeah, that's definitely the woke mob. Dennis. Let's see. I think there's just a couple of us. I'm looking to see how long I've been doing this. It's so awkward when you have such a tiny channel and you're just starting out. And I've heard other creators talk about this, trying to do a live stream when you're talking to yourself. It's super awkward, but especially when, I think this is my third time trying this, but I'm just trying to, I had some things to talk about. Basically, it was about that warning that I received and what they consider misinformation, which honestly, when you're not stating something as fact, I don't see what the problem is. Or even if they could put a disclaimer, that would be super nice. Like if they could just say, how when there's paid programming, or say like there's going to be a ministry that has a show where they it's paid programming, and they say the views and opinions stated in this program, they don't necessarily reflect the views of this network. Why couldn't they just do that and let people and let people say what they want to say? I mean, I think they left some of the I don't remember if it wasn't the Taliban. It was somebody, I think it was from Iran. I think it was some terrorists. They allowed them to keep their content up, and it was anti-American and anti-Israeli, and they let them keep their content up, but of course they had to hurry up and delete Donald Trump. But that's why I'm just wondering why they couldn't just put a disclaimer. And and here's the other thing. If they won fair and square, why are they so worried? What's the problem? If they consider us, that's why I don't understand. Like, why are we considered a danger for expressing our opinions that something happened in 2020? If I just don't understand why us expressing our opinions is such a threat. If I won and somebody, remember when Donald Trump won and Hillary was like, oh, he stole it, yada yada. I mean, and they let that stand. It was like, oh, whatever. But, if it's all legit, why are they so afraid? That's the part that I don't quite understand. Yeah, I think a disclaimer is for sure the way to go. And in that way we could all express ourselves, and then YouTube wouldn't be held liable. But I think they don't care. It goes deeper. They want to shut us up totally. They don't want us to have a voice. But Mike Lindell, though, I am super impressed with him. I know they all make fun of him. Saturday Night Live did they do skits with him, and they make fun because he's not super sophisticated by their standards. But I was watching his interview with Donald Trump, and I thought it was very thoughtful, and he's brave, and he speaks his mind, and he's come a long way from being an addict to being a CEO of a major company, and I really love his products. So he's become like a major hero of mine. Yeah, Dennis, they're definitely bullies. But it is creepy. I was telling my friend, she's a little bit older. She's 72. And I was telling her about, when I was putting up the video. And, usually you sit there and you wait for it to upload and it takes forever. And I'm like, it's taken forever. It was taking longer than usual. And then I get this little red thing with a line through it, and it said removed, and I was like, community guidelines violation. And then the next day when you go, I fixed the video and did whatever I had to do, and it went through just fine. But when you go on there the next day on your dashboard, it has warning, your content violated community guidelines, and then it says you have to review it. So I did. And then the next day I went back on there after I reviewed it. It's like back in your face. And they want you to review it again. And I'm like, seriously? And it's like they want to rub your nose in it, Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Dennis. Praise God for Mike Lindell. Yeah, he is so brave. And, I don't really get too many hate comments or anything particularly mean. But someone in the comment on that latest video that I did, just showing what Frank's speech is all about. Because I like it. And when I find something new, I like to share it. And I mean, people have probably been on there, but, even on conservative radio, they're like, oh, it's a mess. It's not sophisticated. Well, it's fine. I mean, YouTube is the most intuitive. I'll give you that. I like YouTube personally, but, if you're on a regular computer, desktop computer, it doesn't take but a minute to go over to Frank's speech, and the videos are just right there on the landing page. You can find what you're looking for and just hit play, and it's not that hard, and I've really enjoyed it. But one of the comments someone left on that Frank speech video was like, oh, great, another place for the nutters to go. Like we're all crazy for believing in election integrity or for supporting President Trump. I mean, I don't understand why people are so hateful and they have to personally attack Mike Lindell or Donald Trump when they're regular guys that love the country. They want secure borders. They want us to be able to pursue happiness. And I don't know, call me old fashioned, but that's the way I was raised. And, I always root for the underdog too, Yeah, well, with the video that got removed, it was specifically about misinformation, about 2020. You're not allowed to. I know exactly what, because I even thought about it before I uploaded it. I was like, because there was a part in Donald Trump's interview where he said the word rigged, and I think that's a trigger word, and he said the word fraud or fraudulent, and you can't say that back to back with the E word or it gets flagged. But I had another video that said decertify, and that one sailed right through. And so it's got to be like, I know they have artificial intelligence that listens to it, kind of pre-screens it so that they can give it closed captioning and everything like that. Let's see. Noah's Ark. These are. Yeah, these are the same people that wear 2 masks. Yeah. You know what? they can call us nutters all they want, but you know what? Noah's Ark 1962. You are so right. Oh, if I could just get fancy and isolate people's captions or isolate your comments on the screen. I see all these sophisticated things these other YouTubers do, and I'm like, I want to do that, but I have to learn each little trick one at a time in my spare time. Uh, let's see. Very. Oh, thank you for saying that I have a good channel, Dennis. I appreciate that. It's it's a learning process. When you work I do medical billing, and that's my full-time job, and I would love to devote all of my time to doing this. That would be so great. I see people do that all the time, and I think that would be so much fun. Because I don't know about you, but dealing with health insurance companies can be the pits. They reject things. I feel like they reject things on purpose just to save their bottom line, and all the hoops you have to jump through, and then they outsource a lot of their call centers, and it's crazy, and you have to wait on hold for an hour and a half. So I definitely would like to be able to devote more time to this. um, but what grew my channel, which was a real surprise to me, so someone mentioned this channel that got deleted, and it was called Behizzy, and I had no idea what the channel was. I had never seen it before, but I like Doug TenNapel, and Doug TenNapel would always give a shout out to Behizzy, and so someone just, casually mentioned it because I made a video, because I love Doug TenNapel, even though he's a little sarcastic at times. And so I was watching I loved his channel. It got deleted, like 6 channels got deleted, and I was really upset. So I'd keep typing in his name, and then there'd be a new channel that would pop up because he kept just renaming his channel. Doug TenNapel, like he had a second one, Doug TenNapel Art or something like that. He had Doug TenNapel in Exile. Then I couldn't find him anymore. So, and he'd always mentioned he'd be on Locals. So I went over there and I found him because I don't know, I just liked a little dose of him sniffing around, looking into audits and things like that. And I enjoyed his content. I don't 100% align with all of his views or values. But anyway, so I made this video about where to find Behizzy because the one I made about where to find Doug TenNapel went over pretty well. And so I made the one about Behizzy, and it blew up. And I thought, boy, people really love this guy. So it got 40,000 views, which is crazy being such a newbie channel, and I only had like 140 subscribers maybe at best. And then the channel just started to grow all from that one video pretty much. And I was really happy, but then I was thinking, well, what am I going to do for my next video and my next video? Because I can't always do it about people getting kicked off of YouTube, even though that one video was a success. But I'm going to definitely just keep reacting to the news and things like that. And with Joe Biden sitting in the office of the president, there's an awful lot of content. People at the gym are wearing 2 masks. I mean, how do they even breathe? So lady had one in the shower? That's crazy. I can't do a mask for but a few minutes. I mean, it fogs up my glasses, for one. Yeah, if you know Noah's Ark 1962. If you know of any other channels that people might like to know about, I kind of like making videos about that. I mean, not just because it kind of helps my channel to grow, but I feel like it's a public service announcement because some people, they might not know about locals or Rumble. I mean, mostly everyone should know about Rumble. I don't like I don't like Rumble for a couple of reasons. I mean, I like it, but the interface, I have a few issues because it makes all the text really huge. I like to have my text on my phone a little bit bigger because of vision problems. But on Rumble, it makes everything blow up super huge. It doesn't keep it consistent, and it's a little clumsy for me. Saying that he would get kicked off YouTube. Let's see here. Bad confession. Don't want to get kicked off. Yeah, let's see. I'm looking to see. Patriot Soapbox. Let's see. I'm just going through these. I want to get, there's a software that reads the chat to you. And I was trying to play with it, but I couldn't get my act together. Amazing. Oh, you know, look at, does anyone ever use Odyssey? Someone mentioned Odyssey. I never I tried Rumble, which I honestly don't mind Rumble that much. It's just not as nice and familiar as YouTube. Let's see. Bongino, Dan Bongino. Does Dan Bongino, did he take over for Rush? He did, didn't he? I see him on Fox sometimes. Dan Bongino, he's kind of loud. I know who it is, but I think he took over for Rush. Does the shield work? Well, I mean, I guess it gets the job done. The clear plastic shield. Yeah, I mean, the only time I wear a mask, say I work at home, but when I wear a mask, it's in, say, like a doctor's office, when they absolutely make you. And it was kind of cute because, you know, some people are really hyper about wearing masks, but I went to get my hair cut one time, and the lady that was cutting my hair, because some of them are so, you know, following the rules, so she took the mask and flung it. She took it off because, you know, she needed to trim my hair, and she just like removed it and threw it, and I was like, thanks, lady. Because, you know, some people, I'm not really going to create a scene. I don't wear it in the stores now that we really don't have to, but some people do give you some kind of strange looks. Let's see. Yeah, breathing is definitely important. Noah's Ark 1962. Yeah, I mean, well, I think the tragedy is these poor little kids having to sit there all day in their classroom wearing the mask, having that hot air on their face. Some poor little girl, they were saying, she had all A's, and she her the mask is foggy, causing her glasses to get fogged up all the time, and now she's a C student. She went from all A's to C's, and I feel like we're really failing our kids, because how are they really supposed to get an education when they're always having to fuss with that on their face? Because I honestly think um, carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide, the levels probably would rise over time, I would think. And I just don't think it's fair to them. I think we owe the kids so much more. I mean, I don't understand how, we went through school ourselves, and I mean, there's so many, there's, I don't know, the risks to the kids, it's so low. I mean, kids get sick with the flu, and there's always, some fatal cases. But I just don't understand. It's almost like they don't care about the kids at all, you know? Because the other thing, too, is when you're really little and you're trying to learn to pronounce your words, you want to see that teacher's face. You want to be able to see your classmates, because a lot of, um, the way you speak and your mannerisms, it's learned from copying your teacher and your fellow students. So I just think that's just a mess. Does your grandson ever get in trouble for? Does he take off the mask? I've been hearing a lot of kids talking about how they're getting in trouble all the time by the teachers, and getting like a conduct violation. And I know if I was in school right now, I would definitely be getting violations of conduct, because I wouldn't be able to keep it on all the time. Yeah, if you, yeah, I mean, these poor kids, and I mean, you hear the way young people speak nowadays. Half of the time, they don't pronounce the words correctly. And I'm tired right now, so I'm not pronouncing anything correctly. But you know what I mean? We're going to have a bunch of mumble mouth kids, They're going to, it's just a mess. Someone in the next room is watching that movie, The Shining. Did you ever see that movie, The Shining? It's pretty spooky. I felt so bad this morning when I heard that Meatloaf passed away, and then um, I heard Louis Anderson died too. I don't know if any of you guys know Louis Anderson, but I grew up watching Life with Louie, his cartoon show, and then I was watching Baskets, uh, where he played the mom, and he was so sweet. So, let's see here. Noah's Ark, 1962. So they've had the school's been on virtual for 2 weeks. So I'm sure the kids must not learn that much. Because I could only imagine, I don't know, when I was sitting in school, I would hardly pay attention when I was sitting there in front of the teacher. I was always daydreaming. But I could not imagine if I was home in front of some little laptop, I'd probably be doing a thousand other things. But Meatloaf, I found out today. I never knew much about him except for his amazing music. Um, but they had a thing on Fox and Friends where um, they showed some interviews with Meatloaf, and he seemed like he was a really decent guy. He seemed like he was a patriotic, uh, red blooded American, and I didn't know anything about his personal life. Let's see here. School of choice for everyone would be the way to go. Let the money follow the child. Dennis, yeah, I definitely agree with that. They've been talking a lot about school of choice for everybody. Um, I went to a Christian school for, let's see, kindergarten through second grade, and it made a huge difference because then when I went to public school in third grade, I was ahead in my math and reading abilities. Um, and it was so funny when I went to public school. I looked around and I was like, "Oh, that's a public clock. These are public desks." I was like a little bit of a snob because I had gone to Christian school and I thought that was so much better. And in many ways it was, but my mom couldn't afford it anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, it would be so nice if people could send their kids to whatever school they wanted to. I was thinking a good idea would be to have like maybe 5 families chip in and get a private teacher. Say if you don't want to teach your kid at home, um, or you're not skilled or whatnot. Maybe have 5. I've heard that people do this. They'll have like what they call a pod, and they'll have all the kids go to one house couple times during the week. They trade off, and like one of the parents will teach, and I think that's kind of neat because the kids get to socialize. But I was thinking a private. Um, Hiring a private teacher would be a really interesting idea. Let's see here. I'm trying to read this. Hold on here. School choice. Well, I'm sure the teachers union is definitely against school of choice, Noah's Ark 1962, because it. Well, it did shock me, but you had followed what happened in Chicago. So many of those teachers, they. I mean, I've known some really great teachers. Don't get me wrong, but there is many teachers that it just seems like they're there for the paycheck, of course. They're just, doing the 9 to 5 thing, and they took that job because they didn't want to work in a factory, but they don't really seem to care about the kids. And that's what is really sad. And I mean, I had some teachers that were incredible that really did care, but I remember I had others that were just, kind of schlepping by just to pass the time. They gave us busy work. Let's see. So your son, had to complete school in a public school. See, I don't know if I would. That would be a really hard transition in high school. I'm lucky that I did it in third grade because still little, but and some Christian schools can be a little scary too. I will admit. Some of them aren't, especially nowadays. A lot of them are becoming a little bit too progressive, a little bit, that woke culture is seeping in, even with the Christian schools. But it's definitely better. I mean, it's more structured, but some of these schools, I mean, I'm like terrified to think of what goes on nowadays. Let's see. You know what, Dennis? I think you're so right. If they don't want to work, if they don't want to go into the actual classroom, then they need to be cut loose. Let's see. Yeah, I would say, um, Noah's Ark 1962. I would say I had more decent teachers than bad ones, but I remember, on a related note, this is kind of a funny story. I had a teacher, she watched two girls beating each other up. They were fist fighting in the hallway. And this man sent the science teacher. He came and he pulled the girls apart. And he was getting clawed by the one girl. Literally, she was running her long nails down his arm. And the one teacher that was not a very good teacher, she had no control in her classroom. She had her arms folded, standing in the doorway, watching the two girls fight, and she did nothing to intervene. And she could have pulled the one girl back instead of having that one poor science teacher try to separate the two girls that were fighting like cats. And I don't know, it just, to me, it's such an important duty, um, to mold the minds of young kids, that, you have to be all in. I mean, and if you don't want to deal with kids and your heart's not in it, then don't go into teaching. There's so many other things that you could do. They could do like an office job or something and pretty much get paid the same. Let's see. Well, that's good that your son graduated 22nd in his class. And that's Noah's Ark 1962. Let's see. The unions do protect even the bad ones. I remember we were looking at an application, for one of the school districts, and it was for custodial. It wasn't for being an educator, but they it had this whole list of things that you could do, and you would not be terminated. It was really intense. It was crazy. It was all in this application, and it talked about substance abuse and different things that they could not terminate you for, different scenarios. And it was really odd, and all I could think is it had something to do with the union. But this was for custodial. So it was really kind of an eye-opener. Let's see here. Public school elementary teacher. She moved out of the county. So she moved out of the county so they could get a better education. I think so many people are having to do that. Teachers need to remember. Hi, Joe Duke. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. That CRT is scary, and I'm glad they didn't. At least I don't think they had it when I was in school. I mean, maybe under the surface they were trying to push a progressive agenda, but they definitely. Well, I can't say that 100%. I mean, I do feel like I felt like they did try to push a little bit of white guilt. I would say, well, at least when I was growing up, I would say the majority of teachers were dedicated, especially the older ones, but some of the newer ones that were coming up, the teachers' aides and the brand new teachers that were just getting started, the ones in their 20s, a lot of them were very immature and they had no control over their class. Yeah, Dennis, the leftists have definitely, that's a good word, they've burrowed into the government jobs of all sorts. Let's see. Let's see here. Yeah, I agree with you. Noah's Ark 1962. Nobody should feel guilty for the color of their skin. Because I don't know about you, but my family, the majority of my family came over here 1910 on a boat. I mean, and then my dad's family was in the Appalachian Mountains and they were so poor. They didn't own hardly anything except a little shack. It's so funny. The whole problem with CRT though is it tries to make the white students feel guilty or feel like they're somehow oppressors, which doesn't make any sense because those kids had nothing to do with anything that happened. That, even if their direct ancestors did do something, I mean, you can't hold them liable, but so many of us, we come from immigrant families, and a lot of us have African DNA too. But even worse than trying to make the white students feel guilty is trying to make other students of color feel that they're victims. Because, if you're made to feel like the victim, that'll affect your whole outlook on life and you won't even want to try. And I think that's so unfair. Oh, your grandparents were from Scotland, Noah's Ark 1962. I did my DNA test and my ancestry keeps changing. So I started off more than 30% German. Now I'm down to 21% German. Now I'm 10% Russian. It's really funny how it all shifts and changes the more people that get screened. I guess the database expands and then they narrow down where you're from. But I have like, I don't know, 14% Irish and Scottish, but it's so funny the way that the percentages shift. Because I started off with like 25% English, now that's up to 36%. I'll take it. I'm proud of my, let's see. I'm proud of my ancestry and, the journey that they all had to go through for us to get, where we are now. I mean, look at all of the diseases that they survived. I was thinking about that, how they survived smallpox, the plague, couple plagues, tuberculosis, whatever else, polio, all these diseases. Oh, how can it change, Noah's Ark? Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand how it. Wouldn't you think it's like something very established with your DNA? I think what happens, from what I understand, and I'm no genealogist or scientist, but I think the more and more people that get tested, they what they do is they compare all the DNA, and like say at first I had a certain percentage of German, and then they find out when they get more and more people in the database, I think they're able to like go a little bit deeper and say, oh, this part that seemed to be German is actually Russian. I'm not exactly sure, but I know there was a section of my family that were actually Germans that were living in a region in Russia, but I don't exactly understand um, how that works. I read a bunch of articles about it, but I still, for the life of me, I don't totally understand because I think what it is, it's not an exact science. They just compare all the different DNA segments in the population, and they see, okay, the people that live in this region, you match them to this certain percentage. Because it'll even say on there, if you read your results, it'll say you're 0 to this percentage of this region or this country or ethnicity. And then they'll say, they give you like a percentage, but it's not fixed. And then like I said, it shifts the more and more people that get tested and added to the database. And they'll say, oh, well, this is your cousin, and that, like, I'm not 100% sure how it works, but it's not fixed. And I do know this. I watched a video. Identical twins were tested, and they had different percentages from each other, which I thought was kind of odd. They say your siblings could have different percentages of DNA. So I'd like to have my brother do his DNA and see like what his ancestry percentages are, because they said like you can get more of your moms and your sibling could get more of the dads. It's just fun. I mean, honestly, we're all human beings, and I don't get too wrapped up in it, but it's kind of a fun little hobby to kind of look up your ancestors and see where they came from and what their story is. The one thing that I thought was very interesting is when you're sometimes you'll have an ancestor that just disappears off the record. You have the birth certificate, possibly they have no death certificate, and you kind of speculate what happened to them, and you come across a lot of roadblocks. So what I'll do is I'll get ancestry.com for like, I'll get the service for like a month if I'm bored, if I have a lot of downtime for a vacation, and I'll do some research, and then you kind of hit roadblocks and you can't go back any further, and then I just cancel it and then pick it up again later. But there's a couple of ancestors like that, like a great grandmother, where you see you see like their immigration record and then no death certificate, and then you see their husband gets married again and starts a whole new family, and you're left to wonder what happened. And then sometimes you'll be shocked if you look at some of the causes of death. You'll find out there's skeletons in the closet, and sometimes you'll find like a newspaper article about something that they did that you were a little bit surprised. Yeah, I think looking at the family tree it's kind of fun. I mean, it gives you perspective though, because what I like to do is sort of see what kind of jobs that they had, if they were immigrants and they came over here and they had to work say in some shop, or if they worked as a farmer or a farmhand. You know, you kind of see like the rough life they started out with, and then you see it. You know, you'll see them progress, and I noticed the one thing when you look at the census records, families stayed together. You know, they the kids would stay home until they were married, or they'd get married and they'd bring their wife home or their husband home to the main family. Um, you didn't have people just, you know, going out at 18 trying to make their way on their own. You didn't see that too often. But let's see here. Trying to think. Let's see here. I think I'm about ready to wrap it up because I'm getting a little bit tired. I'm looking to see what time it is. Um, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to talk about while I have you guys on the live stream. Um, let's see. I like that, Dennis. They can clone you if they want. Yeah, I definitely would love to do YouTube full time. Maybe not YouTube. Maybe Rumble is safer. Noah's Ark 1962. Let's see. I'm a young earther. Yeah, I would say I am too. I'm in that same boat. All right, guys. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. I really appreciate everyone hopping on. I do appreciate it. Take care and God bless. And I'm going to call it a night.